This is my talk from night 6, which was about the law and the spirit. So basically, I started off the talk and I was saying about how we were looking at the 10 Commandments, which is Exodus 19 and 20, and about how in the Old Testament we had loads and loads of rules that were called the law. And these were actually a good thing, even though we kind of feel like they're not because we don't really like rules. But they were a real gift from God, because basically these people really wanted to spend time with God and they wanted to know how to do that. Like, you know, when you love someone, you want to know like when you can see them and how you can hang out with them. And so they asked this, and they'd asked Moses, because they knew that Moses was quite tight with God and like chatted to him quite a lot. So they asked him like, right, we want to spend time with God. So God was like, okay Moses, I'll give you a bunch of rules that can help them live for me and help them like spend time with me. So Moses kind of went back down the mountain after hearing this and chatting to God and told them like, okay, God's going to give us some rules in a couple of days. And then after 3 days he goes back up the mountain, and then God gives him the 10 Commandments, which are quite famous, and Moses wrote them on 2 big stone tablets and put them back down. But the thing is, like, these laws, they started to kind of create quite a hard dynamic for people, because basically it just meant that they were really aware when they did something bad. Because, you know, it's like if you have loads of rules written up and then you like don't do one of the rules, then it's really obvious that you've done something wrong, because then you can look at the rules on the wall and be like, oh wow, I really messed up, it says right there. And there's a verse in Romans chapter 3 verse 20 that was saying that it was really hard for God to call anyone righteous, because the law just made everyone really conscious of their sin. So basically the fact that we had all of these rules made it really hard for God to be like, yeah, you're completely clean of sin, because there was just so much to do, and us humans, like, we can't really keep up with all of the rules. So it became quite a hard dynamic, and it meant that all of the sin kind of sat on top of people. But these laws were a kind of like temporary bridge between us and God, because way back in the fall, when Adam and Eve were a bit cheeky and ate an apple when God said not to, it kind of like wrecked the relationship with God. And so these laws were a way of God trying to build that bridge back between humanity and God, okay? But it was a bit like scaffolding, okay? It wasn't perfect, it was just, it would do for the minute. But it's okay, because there was a plan, okay? And that plan was Jesus. And all along, God had this plan that he knew that he was going to come down to earth and sort everything out through Jesus. And he was going to build a permanent bridge, a nice big solid stone bridge between him and between humanity. And he kind of gave us spoilers of this throughout the Old Testament through prophets. Prophets are people who were just like really good at listening to God. And so God kind of gave them spoilers for the future. And they were all about how Jesus was going to come, and he was going to kind of change this dynamic of all of this law and all of these rules, okay? And so when Jesus came, he then came and he taught about love and he taught about peace. You can see it in the Beatitudes in Matthew. He did the Sermon on the Mount, which is in Matthew 5. And basically what Jesus was doing then is he wasn't getting rid of the law, he was just reducing it down to its heart. Because if you think about it, like, things come from the heart, don't they? So Jesus did that, so it would be a lot easier for us to understand it. And it's important to know that this wasn't making the law easier, it was just kind of making it more digestible, I think, and it was kind of stripping it back. And basically what he stripped the law back to was what we call the golden rule, and it is do to others as you wish them to do to you, okay? So basically treat others as you wish to be treated. And there's even a verse where Jesus says like, I command you to do to others what you want them to do to you, for this sums up the law of the prophets. So Jesus literally came and was like, basically, all of those faffy laws, they all boil down to like being nice to people because you want them to be nice to you. And actually, if you look at the 10 Commandments, you can see that, like, you know, I don't really want to be killed, so I won't kill other people. Like, it makes sense. But this didn't make it harder, but it did make it a lot easier to understand. And then Jesus died on the cross. And this fulfilled so much of the law, because there were 3 parts of the law, okay? First of all, there was the sacrificial laws. So back in the Old Testament, they were quite keen on sacrificing goats and lambs and stuff. And it required you to do that to be able to spend time with God. But when Jesus died on the cross, he acted as our final sacrifice, because, I mean, the fact that God literally died for us, I mean, that's quite like big and scandalous. So it meant now that, like, because all of those are fulfilled, we no longer have to sacrifice goats and sheep, which I'm quite happy about. And then there was another bunch of laws, stuff that was required of the law, which was cleanliness. So the law required us to clean ourselves before we spend time with God. But when Jesus died on the cross, it says that he wiped us clean from our sin, and he wiped us like kind of metaphorically and physically and everything like that. So it means that now we can meet God as we are. So it doesn't matter how muddy we get in this field or how greasy our hair gets while we're here at Sandiley, we can always meet God exactly as we are and just come as we are. But the third bit of the law that needed fulfilling was the moral bit, and Jesus didn't fulfill this. It's just that he gave us loads of teaching to help us with it, because this is the bit that makes us human, and this is the bit that we need. We need to have moral stuff, because otherwise we'd just be horrible to each other, and that would be rubbish. Okay, so Jesus fulfilled all of this for us and changed this dynamic of the law, and this was the whole idea, and this was the whole plan that God had. But then, when Jesus died on the cross, he didn't just leave us to it, okay? God was like, even though I've just literally died for you guys, I still love you so much that I know it's going to be really tough being Christians now and living in this light that Jesus has just done for us. So I'm going to give you something to help out. I'm literally going to give you another piece of myself. And this is called the Spirit. And the Spirit is a guy who, it's quite complicated. It's the idea of the Trinity, okay? So God, he exists, he's like three people. It's God, Jesus, and the Spirit, but he exists as person. He's one person, okay? So he gave us the Spirit who came and lived inside of us. And this is the thing that helps us as Christians to live for God. And this is the thing that lives inside of us, that looks after us and that nurtures us and helps us live in the light. I know Chris talked, don't doubt in the dark what you know in the light. And the Spirit is the thing that helps us keep in the light. And it's also the thing that plugs the hole in us, because I really believe that humans were created with a kind of God-shaped hole in us. And we always try and fill it with other things. We try and fill it with like Netflix, or with relationships, or with being busy, or the things that we like, because we don't like feeling empty. But God gave us the Spirit so that we could feel full, we could feel fulfilled in Him. Okay, and it says in the Bible that God continually gives the Spirit to us, and this is the story of Pentecost. If you remember Amy's talk when we had all the actions, we have like Pentecost, Church on a Mission, with the fire. That's the Spirit. And what I wanted to end on is a verse in 2 Corinthians which says, "Therefore we have this treasure in pots of clay to show that this all-surpassing power is from God and not from us," okay? Because I want you guys to remember that you are special, because you have something special inside of you that God has given you and that He cares about, and that no one can take that away from you, and you're never going to lose that. It's like treasure in a pot of clay, and it's never ever going to go. Sometimes it can feel kind of small, and sometimes it can feel really, really big, but it's always going to be there, and it's always going to be looking after you guys and nurturing you. If you guys know about the spiritual gifts, the Spirit gives us these gifts like love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, all of that stuff to help us live in the light and to just be better people for God. And so I ended up with getting everyone to give them like a little piece of treasure, because I want you guys to remember that God looks at you and He just sees the Spirit. He just sees what Jesus did. He sees you as a clean, as a righteous person that He loves, and it doesn't matter what you do, He's always going to still love you the same amount. Like, there's nothing you can do to make God love you any less or even any more, okay? Because I think sometimes as Christians we try and do like a checklist of, have I read my Bible today, or have I done worship today? But it's not about that. It's about your heart and your spirit and what God does in that. And I feel like sometimes we can get clogged up, like Fee talked about, and the Spirit is the thing that can kind of fill that, okay? So God wants you to give Him that bad stuff so that He can fill you with His Spirit and fill you with all of the good stuff. So if you ever feel like the stuff that you're holding on to and you're scared to let go of, just ask God for His Spirit to come inside of you and to help you let go of those things and to help you live for Him and to feel fulfilled with God.